Hello friends, Tanya here for a video for Trinity Stamps. We are going to create an entire forest in a box. I pulled out the Layered Pine Forest stencil. There are 3 sheets in this stencil and 6 different sizes of trees. We're going to use these to create a background for this box card. I haven't made a wide box card in a while, and I have to admit I really love them. And usually once I start making them, I make a few. So be prepared, there may be more box card videos coming. So I'm taking a different color for each layer of this stencil, and I'm starting with Rustic Wilderness. These are Distress Oxides that I'm using today. However, you can use whatever inks you would like, dye inks, pigment inks, hybrid inks. They all work great with stencils. I am doing 4 panels that are 4 1/4 by 9 inches because I'm going to need a bunch of panels to create all the decorative pieces for this box card. I am only going to show you one of the panels though, so you don't have to watch the whole process. Now I am being careful to not get ink on the part of the stencil that I am not using for each layer. And I did put some pixie dust spray on the back of this stencil so that it would stick to the panel. I did try doing it without the pixie spray, and the bottom edges kept popping up, and then I would get ink where I didn't want it. So pixie spray it is. And then I ended up with a softer, lovelier stenciling effect anyway. Now we're on to the 3rd layer, and I think I used iced spruce for the 2nd layer. And now we're going to use forest moss. And I'm going to apply that. And I've tried to use true greens, blue greens, and yellow greens on this card in order to give us some flexibility on the cardstocks that we're going to use ultimately with the rest of the card. Here is layer number 4, and this is pine needles. I love all of these different greens together. It actually turns out pretty fantastic, even though there are true greens, blue greens, and yellow greens all mixed in. Next up, we have Evergreen Bow, and as the layers progress, each layer is a little smaller. I started with layer 1, and this is layer 5. We only have one more layer after this one, and it is getting a little harder to see them. I thought that by alternating these different kinds of colors, we would have more visibility, especially since Distress Oxides layer so well on top of each other. And I did let each panel dry a little bit before I ink blended on them again. Here are all 4 of the panels that I've created. And then we're going to pull out the wide box card die set. And I've already die cut the base from some craft colored cardstock. And now we're going to work on cutting out all of the decorative panels. These are all cut out with dies from that same die set. And we did 2 of these great big panels. We're going to need pieces for fronts and backs on the flaps and for all the different sides. And then I pulled out the Slimline Forest border die, and I cut 3 different colors of cardstock with that die. And then I am going to measure those shelves, and they are about 6 inches. So we're going to have to trim down those pieces to fit on the shelves. Now I'm going to adhere all of these different panels. The large panel gets put on the front and back of one of these pieces of the card box. And I really should have scored all of these score lines before I started applying things. It's a lot easier to do the scoring before you start assembling the box. So FYI, do that instead. And the more you make these, the easier it gets, and they are really simple, especially if you use pattern paper instead of creating your own pattern for the decorative panels. I just really enjoy creating my own custom panels. We are going to use the smaller of the long rectangular panels for the top, and as you can see, they are cut from the same piece of stenciled background to create the lower and the upper portions. Now, that pixie dust spray does leave a little residue sometimes, and when you rub your hands over it, you can leave a little something behind. So I took my eraser to try and clean that up a little bit. That's my only complaint with the pixie dust. Now we're going to continue adding the different decorative panels. I really like how this looks. It's got the window pane effect with the trees showing through. It's such a peaceful scene to me. I love the forest. Most people love the forest. Even if they've never experienced the forest, it's just the idea of the peace and the wilderness and being away from the crowds. I think that it's almost like a box of peace that you're sending. I love to go wander in the woods. I love looking out and seeing the trees in my yard. There's just something so essential about trees, which makes this such a universally usable card. You can use this for anyone, and you can use it for a lot of different occasions. I'm just getting all of those panels adhered so that we can assemble our box. We have just, I think, 3 more panels. The one flap that folds down, or maybe that's only one panel. Maybe that was the last. So now we're going to adhere the ends of the box together. I am using liquid glue to adhere all of this. I thought about using my double-sided adhesive, but I decided to go ahead with liquid glue. It does have a better hold long term than any of the dry glues do, so I really prefer liquid glue. You can do that however you want. That's how this box is going to ultimately come together. We're going to take our 3 shelves and fold over those tabs, and we'll adhere them on one of the side panels, one of the short panels. And you're going to make sure that the back of your shelf is going to face that large panel in the background. You're not going to see much of that large panel in the background when this is complete, because we have so many layers to this forest. Can't see the forest for the trees? Have you heard that saying before? I adhered each of the ends on there and then folded them towards the rest of the card, folded those other tabs down, added a little adhesive, and folded the small flap for the other side over and got those well adhered. Now we're going to adhere this box completely closed, and it does take a little time for that glue to really stick. Now you got to make sure that it will fold back in the other direction also, and I was having a little trouble with this. I did have to disassemble it just a little bit. One of those shelves was actually in the crease line, so I had to trim that off and re-adhere it. I'm not sure how that got in the wrong spot, but it did. Now we're going to take these die cut trees from earlier, and we're going to layer those onto our little shelves. These would make a great, or this would make a great whimsical card too, if we had a little critters peeking out, if we had little fun sayings popping out all over the place. I'm going to go pretty low key, but that's kind of what I was looking for. Maybe someday we'll have some camping sentiments. That would be awesome. There's so many ways you could go with this. A miss you, a sympathy card, although this is a little elaborate for a sympathy card. A birthday card. It could be for just about anything. I am really loving how that turned out. We're going to use the sentiment from the Winter Winds stamp set. I had already stamped, heat embossed, and die cut this sentiment and cut it apart for a previous project, and I just tucked it in the envelope. So I am able to quickly put this on my card and not have to do the work. It's nice when you find those little surprises in your envelope for your projects. I'm just going to adhere part of the sentiment on each layer of the trees. So you have to kind of peek through the trees to see what the message is, which I love. I love that. I do think that I may make this card again and stick some little critters in here, even if they are the wrong size, because the trees are fairly small in comparison to most of the characters and critters we have in our line. But this would be still awesome with some little critters, even some little gnomes. Wouldn't that be adorable? Little gnomes and mushrooms and leaves stuck in this. Oh, so many ideas. Leave me a comment and let me know what you would do with this card. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment and do that now. If you're interested in any of the product that I've used today, check that description box below. It's always full of great information. And here are a few more videos that I thought you might enjoy. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.